Made to Stick. Show of hands. In that book, it tells a story of the entrepreneur who pitched the first notebook computer to Kleiner Perkins. Kleiner Perkins is one of the ultimate venture capital finance firms, and so getting a chance to make a pitch to Kleiner Perkins is like an actor getting a one-on-one interview with Steven Spielberg. And so this entrepreneur shows up, and he thought it was just an informal get-to-know-you meeting. And the person making the presentation before him had the full-color, huge business plan with the PowerPoint presentation on the projector. And as he's sitting through this presentation before him, he realizes that he's blown it. He feels that he's lost his chance. So it gets to be his turn. He figured he had nothing to lose, and he takes all he had brought with him was a leather-bound notebook. He takes his notebook and he throws it on the conference room table, and it lands with a thud. And he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is a prototype of the next evolution in computing." It was just a leather-bound notebook with paper in it. But he ended up getting funded. And Made to Stick teaches the concept of giving something tangible, and how tangible is so much more powerful than just abstract concepts. As we learn abstract concepts in BYU, this lecture series is one of the tangible concepts, the Chris Washburns of the world that come and show us how those intangible theories can be brought to practice, and that you can take those concepts and be successful, just like Chris has. Who in the room has ever heard of Lee Iacocca? Who can tell me who he is? Back there. Can you tell me why Lee Iacocca is so famous?
Former chairman of the board of Chrysler Motors.
Okay. Ford and Chrysler. He's credited with developing the Ford Mustang, the minivan, the modern SUV. After he left Chrysler, I don't expect anybody to know the answer to this, but what industry did he go to? What type of company did he build? It's like electric bicycles and light electric vehicles. Can anyone tell me who the president of his company was? That's Chris Washburn. Prior to EV Global, which was that company, Chris worked at Nissan, and he was hired away by Lee Iacocca. Prior to that, he worked with Senator Orrin Hatch's office as a legislative advisor. After EV Global, he oversaw Wavecrest Laboratories' light transit division, overseeing the propulsion systems in light transportation products like bicycles, ATVs, motorcycles, and scooters. And after all of that amazing career, Chris decided to start a company named Fazari Bicycles. And together with his business partner, who's his wife Nancy, they have created a multi-million-dollar business creating high-end bicycles. Chris is a graduate from BYU. He has a bachelor's degree he has bachelor's degrees in Japanese and English, and graduated cum laude. He has an MBA from BYU and a JD from the law school. And with no further ado, Chris Washburn.
Well, thank you very much for letting me come back here. I just got to tour the other new building over there. That's really incredible. That's a beautiful building. I haven't been here in a few years, and so and I was the biggest thing. Just as a quick aside before we get into this. I just cannot believe the views from here, and it just brought back kind of a whole bunch of perspective for me as you think about this. You guys are actually at the point in your lives, I'm sure you've heard, where you have more opportunities than probably any other time in your life, and that is pretty cool. What a place to start it from right here. What a blessing. I'm so grateful actually to BYU for the education that I received and everything that they have, that they've given me. Just to tell you a little bit about Fazari Bikes. We started about 4 or 5 years ago. It was a little bit started by necessity or just a change, as he'd said. It was a lot of fun, but I was traveling. I was leaving on Sunday nights, coming back on Friday nights. And for a while, that's pretty fun. But after you do that for 2 or 3 years, and it gets so old. I mean, every hotel room, every airport looks about the same. So we just said, and plus, we'd seen some opportunities in some of this, and we just said, you know what, we're going to do something different. And so we started this, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm not going to get into, I'll tell you a little bit about how our company operates, but then I've chosen a specific focus to talk with you guys about today. We sell high-end mountain bikes and road bikes or performance bikes. Actually, our entry-level ones will start around $500, but they'll go up to about $8,000. Our average price bike is around $2,000 to $3,000. And we sell, most of our bikes are, when we started the company, we said we are going to build the highest quality of any category that we go into, and then we're just going to provide the best service, meaning we will custom build every one of these bikes for every person that buys them. And so by doing that, we started selling direct. And so all of our business, we don't sell through dealers. We sell over the internet. We sell all over the world. So it's been kind of fun. These are some of the bikes just to kind of give you an idea of what we had. The key of what I want to talk with you guys about today, though, is whatever you do in life, whatever you do, find something that you're passionate about, something that really gets you awake in the morning. How many of you guys are lucky enough to have found something like that, that you just get excited about? Oh, good, hands. That's awesome. So, and that is really the difference. That'll make you so much more successful. And this is just a little bit of fun. I wanted to have just a little fun right in the beginning here. If I can get this thing to work. There we go. Where would you like to go? What would you like to do in the world? These are a couple of fun things. One of our athletes actually sent this to me this morning. You guys have probably seen this on the internet, but I thought, that's kind of cool. I'll just stick this in here. Swimming at a new beach resort in Japan. That is pretty cool. All fake skies and everything in there, sand, it works. Or how about the Grand Canyon, the new skywalk there? Any of you guys been there? Or you walk out over the glass, or a visit to a theme park. I'm sure you guys have done this one. In Las Vegas, where you go over the edge right there almost. You're looking down at about from 20 stories up or so. And this one's pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen this one. This is in Dubai. It's 20, 25-story building. See the green spot up there? It's a tennis court. Right there on the edge. No. Hey, he did lose his ball right there. Somewhere down there in the ocean. And if that's not too boring, then maybe you'd like to try mountain trekking. You take this gondola up, go up these stairs, and you walk along these little planks here where the drops are a few thousand feet. Rickety little things here. And this is the whole climax of it right here. Biking. You go biking along something like this. Or pop a wheelie right there, huh? These are, I bring this up because I looked at this picture a little bit and I thought, this is kind of what I felt like sometimes, starting a company, on a bicycle company. I'm just right on the edge there. But it's been a lot of fun. Let me take a second here. What have been the keys to success? For us, I just want to tell you a little bit about us, and then we're going to take a few minutes here, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. Again, the number one thing is you've got to have the motivation and passion. If you don't have it, nobody else is going to do it. You have to be motivated at what you're doing. We, in our company, it's pretty easy to be excited about our product. We have a lot of fun. It's bicycles. We don't really have an issue with people wanting to come work for us, but, obviously the level of work is another thing. The urgency that we want to inspire in people, at the speed that we're growing so fast that we bring people in and we want to just get them educated in all aspects of it and the personality of Fazari as quickly as possible. But the other thing is creating a product or an idea, and this is kind of a little bit of an overview of where I want to go with you guys, talking about that, then the means of making it happen, commitment to strategy, the willingness to change your tactics while maintaining your business strategy, your education, and then your network. On the motivation, for me, it was easy. I've always had an entrepreneurial heritage. My family was in the car business. I started out, as he said, with Nissan, which was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. 2,000 employees at this particular campus that we were at. I was on a program where we were able to go from business to business inside there. It was kind of a fast-track program for executives where I'd spend 6 months in finance, another 6 months in marketing, another 6 months in legal and different things. And I really enjoyed it. There are pluses and minuses to everything. For this big company, the negatives for me were I was, every decision that was made, you'd have to go through, have meeting upon meeting upon meeting to get a decision made. It's kind of like that Dilbert cartoon. Have you ever seen that one where they have a meeting planned for the meeting so they can plan what that meeting's going to be about, and it just goes on and on? That's kind of what it felt like a little bit. On the other hand, with us, it's like we don't even have time to have a meeting half the time, and it's just make a decision and hope you've made the best decision. And that's probably one of the things that I want to talk about a little bit later with you guys. It's the key for me is, and I think with any entrepreneur is, you want to avoid the big mistake. You want to be able to, you're going to always make mistakes. And with my employees that work for us on the Fazari team, we expect them to make mistakes. What we don't want is a big mistake, or we just don't, and we don't want somebody to cover it up, because it's kind of a learning environment where everybody's growing and learning together. So that's one of the things. For me, it was also, it was back when Iacocca came calling when I was at Nissan, and he, as I'm sitting across the table from him, he was saying, well, here's, if you stay with Nissan for 20 years, you know exactly where you're going to be. You have no idea where you're going to be with me, which was true. And I just kind of looked at it as like I was young, excited, and what do I have to lose? So we jumped into it, and that was kind of the beginning of this entrepreneurial bend that I've been on. As far as products, it can be anything. I mean, bicycles, good grief. There are so many bicycle companies out there. The market is so fragmented. It's so hard to really find your niche in the industry. But I'm here to tell you, you can really find it in any industry that you get into. If you have the drive, if you have the capacity to do it, you can find it. And it has to do with life in general. Many of you guys won't end up being entrepreneurs, but it's how you go through life. Everybody is their own best salesperson. You have to sell yourself when you go to apply for a job. How many of you guys are here looking for wives? Not married yet? Yeah, you got to be your own best salesperson. No one else will. So that's a key in life. But you look at what makes you different. For us with Fazari, it was easy because it wasn't easy, but as we've niched ourselves, we've said, okay, we follow 3 words: quality, service, and direct. And that encapsulates exactly what we stand for. Number 1, it's always going to be the best quality in whatever category we get in. If we're failing, it's not going to be because of quality. Number 2 is service. We'll provide the best service that we can. And how do we do that? I mean, these are kind of lip service type of things that you hear about all the time. On a manufacturing level, first of all, in quality, I know our bikes are more expensive to build than other bikes, but we pay more because we don't want we really don't want service after the fact of paying for warranty parts or different things like that, shipping things back and forth. It's one thing to service a customer here in Utah, but 95% of our bikes are shipped all over the world, and if you've got somebody in Florida or Louisiana or Australia, you don't want to be shipping parts back and forth, so you start with a really good quality product. And that's helped us also for just branding. As far as the other part of service is just how we custom build every bike. It was a negative for us when somebody was buying a product from us in Florida, for example. They'd see us and they'd say, well, these bikes look really good, but I can't see it, I can't ride it. I mean, I'm not going to fork out $2,500 for one of your bikes without touching it beforehand. So we eliminated a lot of the barriers, and one of them was this custom fit program where we just, you can get a better fit bike from us clear across the country or on the other side of the world than you can from your local bike shop. We just have more capabilities. We can actually build it specifically for you. It's like a custom-built shoe out of Italy or something. The other side of it, though, is we provide a 30-day money-back guarantee. So we are eliminating a lot of those barriers. So that's all in the distinguishing yourself from somebody else out there. How are you going to? What's your niche? What are you going to do that's different? And we've resigned ourselves to saying, there's 19 million bikes sold a year in the U.S. We don't need to sell anywhere near that to be very successful. We only need a small percentage, and we'll do just fine with that. So we're not out trying to get every single person on one. It's just, it's those people. So if you kind of grasp it as far as that's your strategy, this is how we're going about it, I think it helps a lot. The financing is usually the biggest thing that turns that stops people. I've got 2 or 3 friends that they say, I've got thousands of ideas. I just don't have any money to be able to start something. And with us, it was kind of a similar thing. When we decided to do this, I did the 80-page business plan, went around and sold it to, pitched it to a lot of different companies, venture capitalists, angel investors, a few things like that. And surprisingly, a lot of people were interested. We had 5 investors that were actually different investors that were very interested, and out of those we chose one, and it was just logical. It made all the sense in the world. We said, this is what we're going to do. I mean, I'd just written a business plan, and the guy was going to give me $1 million for it, and you're saying, wow, that's incredible. Why wouldn't you do that? Of course, he wanted other stuff in exchange, like a large chunk of the company or whatever else. But as I was driving down to go sign the deal with him, and I was walking across the parking lot, I called my wife and I just said, I don't know what the deal is. I just don't feel good about this. This is crazy, though. I mean, this is the most logical thing in the world. Why wouldn't we do this? And she said, well, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. I mean, we'll figure out something. And so I walked in, shook hands, and told him I wasn't going to do it. After I walked out, I'm saying, what on earth am I going to do? So we had to pull together all of our finances and take out some loans and different things like that, and we did it. Now I count my blessings over it. It's been wonderful. We haven't had to worry about a partner. Partners are good, but a lot of times you'll have a partner who wants to go a different direction, and you have to report to a big investment bank of some sort, and on quarterly profits or anything like that. We do what we want to do, but we were very frugal about how we started the company. We did a lot of it ourselves. I'm a little bit of a do-it-yourselfer, from designing a website to a few of those things, and that's later one of the biggest obstacles that you'll find that I had to overcome is as we've grown to be able to start handing stuff out to others. It's difficult. So the other thing that we ended up doing was we had a great option with Costco on here that I had some friends there that said, hey, I hear you're building a company. Why don't you come and sell some of your bikes through us? It was a great blessing. We sold a lot of bikes through them. And later I'll tell you how it ended up when we left them. It was probably one of the hardest decisions, but one of the best decisions we also made. The other thing is just suppliers. And this is probably the single biggest thing that helped us. In this industry, you're forecasting out 6, 9, 12 months in advance, and you're spending a lot of money to suppliers in advance. And in fact, the industry norm is as soon as you place an order, you've got to put 30-40% down, and then you've got to put another 30% down as it comes close to them procuring components. And then after that, you've got to put the balance down when they go in to manufacture it. And then the manufacturing process takes a little while, and shipments don't come until after that. So you can imagine the amount of money that you're talking about, that you've got to have a highly capitalized company. Well, we had to play that game to begin with, but the key for us, and it's been our biggest saving grace as far as the financing was concerned, is we've been able to negotiate it down to where we don't have to pay any money in advance. We're able to pay it right at product production. And I think a lot of that is because it's how we work, developing a good relationship of trust with our suppliers, and paying them on time or in advance, and then just meeting with them and talking with them, let them see who we are. This is one of the things that I had mentioned earlier that I think is the biggest success factor that you guys have here at BYU. As you go out and you market yourself to the world, as I've talked with a lot of different people and seen them, people look at you as you're from the Mormon University, you're trustworthy, you are a hard worker, you know, and so a lot of those things will translate through, and you can get very good, you can gain advantages by that other people may not have. So, you know, that's a very good strong point. As far as product development, same type of things. Just worked with a lot of our engineers and suppliers. I'm going to skip over that one for a minute in interest of time. The distribution, as I was telling you before, we have you know, the ability to just set up things directly. We eliminate a lot of the customers' issues that they have, the obstacles that they have to buying one of the products. And as you're sitting there and you say, well, you know, what would be the reason? That's one of the other benefits we have of dealing directly with our customers. We can see exactly what their concerns are. So, willingness to change tactics. By the way, this whole custom setup thing that I'm talking about, it wasn't the way we started. That was actually a mistake of one of our suppliers that sent us about $250,000 worth of products that were wrong. And we had to we either had to reject them and miss the whole season because they couldn't get them back to us in time, or we had to go in and pull out every one of these pieces and build them, rebuild them ourselves. And so as we pulled every one of these components out and we were rebuilding everything, it was the biggest nightmare. I mean, it was, you know, it was one of those things where you're saying, oh, are we going to even survive this? We just started saying, well, we got all these out. I mean, there's got to be something we could do. Let's start custom building these. Let's get measurements from every single person. We'll get their shoulder width, their inseam, their torso, their arm length, their weight, their height, all of these measurements, and we will custom fit the bike specifically for them. And so it eliminated one of the biggest things of somebody in Florida or New York or whatever buying one of our products. And it turned a negative into a positive. In fact, it was so good that we actually turned our whole business that way, and we started saying, okay, this is what we're doing from here on out. We'll move in that direction. So a lot of times, some things that look as big negatives can actually be a huge positive for you. Okay, so what are the problems? Oh, we have a lot of problems. I mean, there's always issues in business as you have. The biggest one for us is forecasting. It's one thing to choose a bike like this bike right here, which is $2,500, and say, okay, we've done our research, and we see that there's a market for that bike right there, and we're going to sell that bike. But there's another thing when you start getting into color choices and sizes. And when we sell that bike in frames, we manufacture 5 or 6 different frame sizes. And luckily, we'd had the benefit of, whoops, hit that by mistake. Luckily, we had the benefit of a little bit of history on those, but, you know, all the short people were gone this year for some reason. I don't know where they went. We ended up with a lot of leftover small bikes, and I mean, what do? You just deal with it, you know, run a few sales or whatever on those. But those are some of the pitfalls that we've had. The other thing is just forecasting out that far. I mean, we're in an economy right now which is a tougher economy, and you know, you forecast and you say, what's it going to be like in 6 months or 9 months from now? And so you do the best that you can in that regard. And that gets right into conservative versus risk-taking. How much risk are you willing to take upon yourself? And, you know, I always feel like we're taking a lot of risk, but frankly, we're pretty risk-averse on what we're doing. I mean, we do a lot of homework, and that's where I think my education has played the biggest benefit for us. We really study things out in areas of product design, how we're building it. Those things we really put a lot of time into. But then we just got to move quickly once we develop it, and you know, you just got to have little bit of guts to jump in and do some of those things. The other thing is, for an entrepreneur, is just the balance. For us, it's been, our employees, a lot of them, they can just leave at the end of the day, check out, check in, check out, it's done. They're, I'm off the clock. Are you asking me to do something? Whereas with us, you're living it day in and day out. And so a great support network for us with family. Our family has in this regard, our kids and everybody have kind of rallied around. Everybody is kind of joined in on this. We try to separate it, but it ends up, when your kids are talking a lot about it and whatnot, it's just a fun thing. So we happen to be in a great business in that regard, where it's a fun product to talk about. Our other biggest problem, though, is translating the company persona to everybody. Remember how I was saying earlier about the brand at BYU here, about the trustworthiness, the loyalty, the hardworking image? Few of you could screw that up, but by and large, that brand is going to just keep on going. That's what's been built up here. Same thing with us. We're trying to establish the right brand, and there could be a couple of our employees that blow it, or a customer that from one reason or another is frustrated. But if we're going in the right direction, that's the key for us, is to make sure that we have that brand, that quality, service, direct motto, that we're constantly providing the best service and the best quality, and and that will drive us forward. The other thing is just instilling a sense of urgency. Nobody is going to have as much urgency for your brand or your product than you are yourself. No matter what, it's just the way it is. You're the one that built it, so it's how do you do that? I mean, it's easier with us in the sense that our research and development a lot of times is on a mountainside riding bikes or something like that. So it's good, but still, we're growing so quickly that it's how do you instill that into your employees? And so we have some incentive programs that we do and things that we work through, but it's tough. What do I wish that I would have done differently? This first one is the hardest. Delegating versus doing it yourself. I'm very hands-on. You have to be. But as the company grows, how do you, I've had to look and say, okay, I can't be doing the graphic design work. Got to let somebody else do it. I can't be doing the web stuff. Can't be worrying about all that money we're paying to Google or Yahoo and monitoring that on a daily basis. I've got to trust this person to allow them to do that. And so that's a lot of the growth aspect that comes with it. And I already talked about that other one there. Let me skip ahead to this network. This has been one of the keys for me, and I think with anybody, is just establishing a network that you can have people who are that you can go to and that you have absolute trust in. That one of the investors, potential investors in our company, that I didn't take the money from, he actually has become one of my best friends and is on our board. He's an engineer, not a practicing engineer, but he's very bright, thinks through things. So a lot of times when we're looking at new markets, we'll do the work and research, and then I always bounce it off of him and get his ideas on it. Probably the best one has been my wife, as far as just a lot of the things that you can't really share with other people. So that's been a fantastic opportunity for us. So in that regard, I want to kind of open it up for questions here, and I want to show you just a funny little video here that kind of summarizes this a little bit. See if I can get this thing to work. You guys have probably seen this. Circulated on the internet here a while back, but it's just kind of a funny thing. Oh, let me see here. Clint? There we go. Come on.
Just click it over here.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W.
Take time to be a dad.
One more
today.
time. All those boys are much too much. Those boys.
You probably say, well, what does that have to do with bikes? It really is, it's the passion. It's getting out and being the cheerleader for your company. You're going to get knocked over. It's standing back up and act. And that's why I said right in the beginning, it's doing everything you can to be the biggest cheerleader and having the passion for your company, because nobody else is going to do it like you will. I'm going to open it up for questions. Any? Yep. It's a good question. Actually, by the way, I have a couple T-shirts to toss out for questions too. They are, when we were designing them originally, we were using some Italian designing, and so frankly, it's a surname from one of our designers, and it just sounded a lot cooler than Washburn, so that's how we did it. Yeah.
So have you ever sold a bike to Olympian in training, or do you know any Lance Armstrong's people?
Great question. We don't sponsor Lance Armstrong because he costs about $10 million to sponsor, but we do sponsor, and that's one of the biggest areas where we've been able to get a lot of inroads into the community and different areas. We sponsor a lot of pro athletes, and most athletes in this business are actually less expensive than many businesses. The very top echelon that are getting the huge dollars, but we can sponsor a lot of them. For example, we have in the Intermountain West the top 3 triathletes in the area. We sponsor the #1 athlete in the East in Florida. So a lot of these, same thing with mountain bike, the downhill riders, which is like this bike back here. So we do a lot of that sponsoring, but hey, I don't have $10 million to pay to one sponsor. We spend a little bit more around in other areas. Yeah, right back there.
Yeah, if I show you some passion, can I win one of your bikes?
That reminds me of the best story. Should I tell them that story really quick? Let me see if I can find a big shirt. I had a guy that, I had the nicest, most handsome guy, tall, blonde, young, 27, 26 years old, right in that area. And he called on the phone, got me, and he said, I've got a business proposition for you. And, as soon as you hear that, it's like, I got a blind date I want to set you up on. You kind of are like, okay, I'm going to wait just a minute. But he was persistent, so he came down and he said, I was at the Spudman Triathlon. Do you guys know where that is up in Idaho? And he was riding clear back in the back of the pack. And he said with his brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law said, hey, how come all the fast riders are on Fazzaris? And he says, and it hit me right there. He said, I knew what I had to talk with you about. He says, you're marketing to all the wrong people. Those riders are so far out ahead, they win the race, and they're gone before the people are here. I could be back in the pack. I could be talking to everybody, marketing it to them. I'll sell your bikes for you. And I said, so what do you want? A free bike. They're like, oh, that's a good one, And I told him, it was really funny. I said, well, honestly, I'm not going to give you a free bike. But I will give you a discount. We normally don't discount them. They're already discounted. And he was crestfallen, and he's like, oh, man, that's too bad. I said, well, for what, you came in, you gave a line, it was funny. I've given you a discount, but if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. I appreciate it. Good luck to you. Anyway, he called me back and goes, okay, I'll take the bike. So he actually is out marketing for us. And, we're helping him. Yeah, right back there in the back.
How did you originally take your bikes to the market?
How did I originally take the bikes in the market?
You made your first bike and no one knew about Fazzari. How would you take on like high-end belts, for example?
Oh, that was a good throw. Almost. Great question. That was when we first started. The very first bike we sold was through Costco. Oh, and I didn't even conclude that story, by the way. We started with a lower-end bike. It was a high-end bike for Costco, but a few lower-end bikes. And as we started to, Costco was like a narcotic. I mean, we were selling tons of bikes through them. But I couldn't sleep at night because I'm going, oh man, if we lose them, and then they're getting bigger and bigger, and they're starting to say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and and that's good. You do some certain things, but you start saying, well, what if I lose them, or what happens with this? And besides, that's not the direction that we really want to go. Is we're going more and more high end. It just didn't match, and and a couple of people are starting to say, well, geez, is there nothing against them? I mean, they're great. We buy tons of stuff with them, but as you go more and more high end with some of the stuff, how do you sell through there? And so here about a year ago, I made one of the toughest decisions that we had to make. I just said, we're not going to do it. We're going to stop. And they were shocked. They're like, what? Nobody stops with us. I mean, how can you do that? And we did. And it was, for us, it was a great blessing. Our business jumped another 40% after we dropped out of them. But it was what we needed to do. And that was part of the strategy versus tactics thing. We were staying with our strategy, and the tactics changed a little bit. I have nothing but good to say about them. They're fantastic. I still have a lot of good friends up there, but that's what we did. Oh, look at all the hands up now. T-shirts? Is that what you're wanting? Okay, you're next. I think you.
Why don't you do both? Why can't you sell Costco and then do your custom thing over the internet?
Great question. If it's a great question, I got to give you a T-shirt, right? They are. Well, two things. Some of the bikes that they started selling on there, they just weren't at the caliber of our bikes, and they were just a different level of bike. Because if it would have been just an exclusive, I probably would have looked at it. But as they started bringing others, it was the association. That was one of the things. The other thing is it was our businesses. I mean, nowadays, geez, we're on the internet. We're everywhere. You get somebody out there, well, what about, can any good thing come out of a big box store, and the other thing is they kept saying, sell us this bike. We want your $2,500 bike. We really want to sell that one. And we just weren't prepared to do that. There are a lot of implications with that. And I said this earlier too. Years ago, when I was working at Nissan, and the first Costco came in down in Southern California where we were living, and I walked into the store, big wide aisles and all these products on there, and I saw these folding chairs, and I told my wife, I said, these are awesome. Whoever got these into this store here, they got to be making a fortune. It's got to be awesome. And I said, I got to get into this store. So, that's probably how we originally started, and I decided to go with them. And it was great, but there's also negatives with them. I mean, they, there's when you deal with anybody that big, I mean, they're the $50 billion company. You're the small company. There's not they push around big companies, and so it's kind of, but the biggest thing is where we were going. I mean, we could sell 20,000 bikes through Costco, or we could sell 2,000 bikes of the higher end and do just as well. And so that was our philosophy on that one. Oh, yeah.
First yes, no question, and then another. Do you offer paid internships to industrial design students?
Good question. We do. We have. And if you want to, send me your info and we can talk. Yes?
I was wondering, well, first of all, these are really wrapped, really nice, and it's something different. So I was wondering, and you mentioned a lot of things about your wife, and I'm working with my wife on a lot of things right now. She's really helpful, but I want to know some of the skills and things you wish you would have done right off from the beginning. Maybe she can tell me too, for both of you, the things that would help you most work in unity and
oh, that's a good question. I thought he was going to say, what skills do you wish your wife would have had? I'm not answering it. No, just kidding. She has everything that I need. Absolutely. Well, for us, and this is completely the case, we're best friends. So it's an easy thing for us to talk. Yeah, we have our differences on things. She's very detail-oriented. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. Compliment to her. She actually thought of putting a little ribbon out. I was just going to toss a T-shirt out. So she's like, oh, you can't just toss a T-shirt. Put a nice little ribbon on there. So she does some things. Some of these bikes, she's got her handprint on a lot of these things. So that's good. But there's give and take on everything. As you're working through those, with her, it's easy. She does not. I could see if, unfortunately, I'm probably a type A personality, so I'm going. But I'm also very open to comments. In fact, I seek hers readily. If she was saying, no, you have to do it this way, then I'll follow her. But she's usually pretty good at suggesting, So, yes?
Do you do most of your own research, or do you borrow ideas from just technologies, schools, and where do you get your technologies for improving bikes?
Great question. There's a T-shirt? Okay. Oh, your wife got one? Okay, never mind then. Is that your wife?
No.
Oh. Okay, sorry. The question was, okay, there's several different research options in there, I guess. If you're talking market research, we do our own market research. In fact, we did a lot more market research from other sources. This sounds kind of funny. It's a little bit of the Steve Jobs type of thing. What do they say? Apple doesn't do any research. They just go in and produce things. And but in our regard, we look at trends in the market. We follow forums. We get a ton of feedback from our customers. For example, there's 3 bikes that we're looking at creating right now that we're just basically, it's in kind of a research mode right now. So that's all internal. It's feedback from customers, those type of things. As far as developments in there, BYU is actually doing a big thing with us right now. The exercise science department, we're working with them. They're taking 8 of our bikes and determining the difference between a road bike and a triathlon bike. And the muscle usage on those. On a tri-bike, the theory has always been once you get off it and start running, you're going to have your muscles are going to be better set for running than they would on a regular road bike. But nobody's ever proved that. So BYU, with all their resources, is doing a full research project on that, and we're lucky to be part of that. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah, I don't know if I got this right, but I think at the beginning it said you went to law school.
Yeah, that was right.
We get a lot of people who have MBAs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering how a law degree benefited you in your experience.
Great question. I started law school the first year, and then I came over and did a year of business school, and then you go back and forth for the other 2. And well, right now, here's how law has helped me. It's a total different way of looking at things. It's probably they teach you a way of critically analyzing something and getting to an issue quickly, just pushing through all the other stuff. I don't practice law right now. I practiced law in California for a while, and I enjoyed it. But for me, it was a little bit more. I felt like I was cleaning up messes of everybody else, and I thought, I want to make a mess, So it's kind of what I did there.
Just looking at your downhill bike here, it seems like you guys mainly design the frame and the frame geometry, and then you have about 10 other companies that are coming together to make this bike.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's how has that been difficult and a blessing for you, and choosing manufacturers like Fox or Truvative and stuff, and what products you're going to put on each bike?
Great question. I wish I had another T-shirt. Do you want the box? They are. That is the blessing and the headache in this business, because we're a frame manufacturer, and then we provide Fox components and whatever. So we're working with Fox engineers. They've custom designed a shock for our bikes, and they're experts in that area. A lot of the others. So we've been burned a couple of times with manufacturers. Just recently, with a very well-known manufacturer, they sent us 250 forks that they screwed up on. We didn't know about it until the bikes were out, and then we had a leak on it, and it reflected poorly on us, because a customer looks at it like, what the heck, but it was a very, it was frustrating for us, and they of course apologized all over. But you have to, we those things, they're inexcusable. And we actually stopped doing business on that thing with them, and and we just work forward on that one.
Now, you mentioned you're a really hands-on person. So how did you get to have the know-how of manufacturing or putting together a bike or designing a bike? How does that come about?
Great question. I don't pretend to be an engineer, but I know enough about engineering that I can understand it. We have engineers that work for us. A lot of it is just, I've been one of those people that has, I just love to learn. Anything that there is to learn, if there's something new, I want to learn it. So I know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to actually do it. So that's how we do that.
Just kind of like pull your loans together and contact some other people through networking, and then make
Oh, from the very beginning?
Right.
Well, we started with a very easy bike. It was a bike that you couldn't go wrong on. We said, we're not going to go with some exotic design or geometry. It's going to be something that's proven in the market. We'll build from there. Let's get our base set, and then we start doing development from there and bring in our own engineering. But right in the beginning, it was like, look, we don't want to fail. You don't need to sell a new design to somebody on top of everything else that you're doing. You start with something simple. Another question?
I said one. You never said, how come bikes? There's a lot of bike companies out there.
Oh.
Why'd you start a bike company?
Oh, man, great question. Yeah, because the old adage in the bike industry is, how do you make a small fortune in the bike business? Start with a large fortune. It's a good question. We have been truly blessed. Our business is profitable, and we've grown dramatically. But it goes back to, honestly, I guess it was the connections that we had at the time. It was an opportunity that I saw. It was a little bit of, the stars aligning right at that time. But the point is, and I'm absolutely convinced of this, if you do it right, you can do it in anything if you do your homework right. I mean, this is an industry that's been around before the cars, but we're tweaking things, and the fitness craze, the baby boomer generation, all of those things have certainly helped out. I mean, the bike business is going well, but it's still tough, like anything else. Any other questions? Yeah.
Two questions.
You and you.
Do you have full-time engineers that just work for Fazari, and what are your growth rates?
Yes. And growth rates, we double about every year. Yeah.
So do you love the bike industry, like your business, or do you like biking?
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to, I know everybody's leaving. Thanks for coming, guys. It's one thing to love bikes. It's another thing to start a bike company, because you don't want your passion to all of a sudden be your headache, It's like, I don't ever want to get to the point where it's like, I hate biking, But so far it's been great, and it's both. Yeah. But I'm a businessman first. If we weren't making money at this, I wouldn't be doing this. So, any other questions? Or it's good? All right.